Welcome to ACG, no sponsors, no BS, just games coverage. The backstory to Wild Bastards is something like this. They were out there ganging it up, posses in space, and then got taken down, leaving the last two bastards alive who leap in this possibly sentient ship to track down and resurrect their old gang members and try to hightail it to a mystical, maybe not real location known as Homestead. This is a first-person mix of strategy and quick shootouts, of choosing paths, then engaging in minute-to-minute battles, moving around planet maps, and then trying to pick and choose which way to go to better improve your chances of winning and getting back off planet, jumping in your ship, and taking all the loot that you stole. Speaking of other loot, comment in the video. The loot will be me saying thanks. The main game proper in Wild Bastards is one of traveling from star system to star system to star system, choosing a path forward by identifying hazards and rewards for each planet, and then beaming down onto them. A bit of a hero shooter at times, at other times light strategy, and then first-person outlaws from the past brought into the present, but pretending to be the future. New coverage is also coming for the casting of Frank Stone and Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Make sure to check those out. Now, dropping down on each planet, the locations are set out like a board game, with each spot you land on taking or eating up moves that you have and having their own bonuses, hazards, and helping of enemies everywhere. Your job is to get through the planet, get the items that you need, and then get back off the planet. You have passive characters that can help you steal items, to roadblocks that have to be fought through, to enemy data that tells you the weaknesses and strengths of different enemies you face. The same is somewhat done when flying around your specialized ship that takes the Wild Bastards throughout the solar systems, taking out the different enemies. Deploying outlaws down to the ragtag planets is done from that ship in bunches of two, like partners in a space wagon train of life, just mixing and matching the proper Wild Bastards with the proper upgrades like reload speed times and armor increases. It's all vital to move forward on the harder planets in particular, as it's those groups that will also be joining battle together. So you may have two Wild Bastards in one group, two in the other, and then go to different parts of the map. Speaking of the map, no matter what, you're going to be fighting on it. Now, it starts out as small arenas, really small. It's noticeable, actually, to the point of feeling cramped, as the game lets you learn the ropes of each bastard using their skills when you get the juice, which is power-ups in areas. And in those arenas, they are vital. Special power-ups for each character can end up turning the tide. And over time, those arenas get larger and larger, filled with creatures that burrow in the ground, horsebound enemies, and strange worm-like dogs that bound around shooting you with what looks like sonic attacks. Imagine it more like mini spots. Each bastard skill is very powerful. Controlling's fairly standard. You got to jump and a duck and shoot in a series of actions that you want to take. What does feel a little difficult is, once again, the levels. Let me explain this. It's a series of small buildings at first, and then molding out more and more items and larger locations as you play and as you move around. It's much like the previous game's procedurally generated rooms, at least at the start, but the wireframe graphics mixed with fully cel-shaded ones can again make it a bit difficult to see and parse enemies without having to really look close at your compass. Is it workable? Yes, after a while. It was easy enough to figure out, but there's something there. I wish there was a little bit of a definitive difference. This is one place where I found myself wondering exactly what the choice was for putting certain weapons in the game. Well, one in particular. While most are the expected ones and the expected heroes, shotguns, six-guns, snipers, one character had a damn lasso that you grab on enemies with and you strangle them with, but it's a very odd double button kind of thing where you swing it out and then hold the button, and if you hit the enemy, you slowly strangle them. Aiming is a bit difficult because you're aiming a lasso and you're also pretty much held in place at that time. When you have all these other ideas, it was difficult to come to grasp with. Behind the character, you've got buffs and charged aces and some mods. Everybody can end up getting some really cool maneuvers, and the enemies aren't exactly pushovers either. They shoot you well enough, especially when far away. Also, some have homing bullets. It just didn't work for me with this one particular hero that I ended up getting in the preview time. We'll have to see come review time what you can put together to get that hero to really end up nailing it. After each battle, or as you move around, you jump from different spots of the planet to shops where you can buy everything from powers to give you extra moves in your turn to the ability to teleport to other locations. And it has a great synergy so far, including items that let enemies skip over you. Basically a disguise. Especially later when planets start mutating enemies and then all of a sudden different sorted groups are coming at you. And this is where the game slightly diverges from the prior game, but still feels somewhat the same. For example, the system-to-system jumping in the spaceship. Each system you enter already has a supply station. That's the first place you go to, and this rewards you for successes that you've had and gives you mods that you can use and take them down with you. This is loot that you pretty much get whenever you jump in, but they get destroyed when you warp out. Why is this important? Well, for example, you might find something like beans. two outlaws who are fighting can't end up going down to the planet together. And the only way to make them get along is to give them some beans, because sitting around firefarting it up all night either kills everybody involved or ends up forcing everybody to get along. And so you're consistently balancing the relationships as well as what you're getting when you go from planet to planet, what you're getting when you go from system to system, what you get when you die and you end up returning to the system. And I like that tit for tat. This is another nice balancing kind of situation between losing items when warping and gaining power. Another nice feature is the art style, because that holds it all together. It's much the same way as Void Bastards looked. It's a thick setup, saturated colors, and a sharp polygon look like comics or animated shorts, and I love it. Casino, who has a slot machine winning row as his eyes. Just excellent design for the enemies and the hero. However, I will point out in this preview, once again, when exploring some of those locations, I did find the enemies hard to see in the game due to the color schemes, and it throws enough purple and neon at you to be a dozen Saints Row 5 titles. Voice work fits, but I need to play more of the game. It's got a writing and Western-style verbiage with partners and ain'ts and shambling and discussion of chow. It leans heavily into the tropes, as does the voice lines themselves delivered throughout the entire game. Also, they nailed the bad guys. The main leaders who come after you. One in particular shows up and just keeps yelling at you consistently, like some animated cartoon character from Rick and Morty, just yelling no matter what, even though he was pretty much on a damned radio. Sounds, while the guns and explosions and otherwise are okay, the 3D audio itself is working very well right now, with the ability to instantly tell if an enemy was outside or a building across or right or left or below or above you, which is a huge help. What I liked in this, the graphics are my style, even with some issues. The storyline, the goofy-ass B-movie Western and Tron fix is my jam in every way possible, as well as the way the upgrades and warping in and out of systems or dropping down to planets works in tandem, especially with the smart planning that's required on the planet maps themselves. Great times and good 3D audio. What I'm struggling with is enjoying that one damn character who just doesn't feel like they fit with me or with the rest. It's almost like comic relief in a superhero show where someone's superpower is the ability to read just instruction manuals in the blink of an eye, but can't remember a goddamn thing that they read. Seems useful for a second, but it never really is. I'll just have to see when the full coverage comes if that's something that ends up playing out better. Speaking of full coverage as well, you're going to see my footage of Dead Rising Remaster and more this week. We have a new podcast channel. You can check it out here or the link in the description, and my Patreon. All my reviews and trips I pay for, even if the devs give me a code. So if you want to leap in, have a great time, hang out, stream some games, talk about Dungeons and Dragons, movies, music, what have you, and help out a channel like mine, maybe click it. Other than that, can't wait to see the rest of this game when the review code comes out. Peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.
And just what do you circus freaks think you're up to now? Stealing daddy's stuff were bad enough. Now you're digging up dead bastards too?